The soul still burns and the stage is set for a return to form for SoulCalibur. Hey everyone and welcome to another GameCast review. I'm Mark and today I'll be reviewing SoulCalibur VI, now available for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One and PC. SoulCalibur has had a complex history of evil swords corrupting pirates and random guest characters. SoulCalibur VI continues the series' traditions by taking a few steps back and almost rebooting the narrative back from the original SoulCalibur. There are several stories to explore that all loosely follow the same chronological path. There's the general SoulCalibur narrative, which mainly focuses on series veteran Keelik, individual character stories that are mostly self-contained, and Libra of Souls, a story mode designed for your created character, complete with side objectives, earnable gear, and a morality system. I enjoyed the general and character stories most, as over the course of the series I've grown attached to some of these characters, especially the new guest character Geralt, whose arc involves him falling through a portal in a very Witcher-esque situation. While I appreciate the amount of voice dialogue in the game, the story mode presentation is a little lacking, with just portrait stills for a large portion of the game. Gameplay is the heart and soul of the franchise. Using its weapon styles, 8-way run system, and its sometimes goofy ring out system, the franchise is back in full force on current gen hardware. Not a huge amount has changed in SoulCalibur V in terms of mechanics, but in terms of roster the devs have decided to go back to basics once again, with its 20 character roster being composed almost entirely of fan favourites. All the things you loved or hated about SoulCalibur are back. Keelik can still keep you at a really annoying distance, Siegfried can still knock you around the stage like a ragdoll, and Voldo is still just super creepy. It feels old but fresh again, thanks in no small part to the returning critical edge system of 5 where SoulCalibur pretty much just followed the fighting game trends and added supers. Here it's elaborated on a little more with soul charges, which are temporary transformations that increase stats as well as add new attacks and even new supers to a few characters. It feels like a trump card as long as you're confident in your abilities, as characters like Keelik become significantly stronger, but his form comes with the added disadvantage of draining his health. There's another new system called Reversal Edge. It's a sort of rock paper scissors comeback mechanic like Injustice, where each player clashes and you have to read your opponents on how to proceed. It's an interesting mind game on delaying a strike or just sidestepping to avoid damage entirely. If performed correctly, it can turn the fight around, but it also breaks the flow of the battle, creating a bit of an awkward pause. There aren't a whole lot of new characters this time around, but I feel like this was almost like a soft reboot of the franchise, much like Mortal Kombat 9. It wanted to bring back most of the original or most popular fighters while expanding just a bit. The character creator is both great and annoying in this regard, as you have more creative freedom than ever before with a huge selection of races and customization options. But the smaller roster also means fewer fighting styles, so while you can make a Lizard Man, it won't have the same playstyle as the previous game's actual Lizard Man character. It's still fun to play around with as you make new fighters altogether, or try to recreate other game or anime characters. SoulCalibur VI is a step up from the previous title. The new engine looks fresher and many of the character customization options are better fitted to the character models so they don't look awkward. The story modes are a bit lacking though, as while the character art is nice, in-game cutscenes would have gone a long way. It doesn't help that when we do get in-game cutscenes they are quite good. The new battle effects are great and the game makes this especially clear during Reversal Edge and Critical Edge. The game still has overly sexualized characters, which is pretty series standard to be honest. They're starting to give it both ways with buff or shirtless men, but Ivy's costume will always raise eyebrows for better or for worse. It knows what it is and it isn't shying away from it. The voice work is pretty standard fare with some good and some bad voices, but a huge heaping of melodrama and sometimes awkward screaming, because that's pretty much the series standard too. I would have liked the old load screen from SoulCalibur 2 though, where you could mash buttons to have your character yell out before a match. Geralt looks and sounds like he stepped right out of the Witcher universe, which in the story he kind of did, so that's always great to see. SoulCalibur VI is a great return to form for the series. It almost feels like how Ubisoft used to do Assassin's Creed, with backpedaling on features that didn't work while focusing on new stuff that did. In this case they ditched the roster and story from 5 but kept the more cinematic feel and the critical edge system because that was cool. It's not the be all and end all for the franchise, but it's a lot more convenient than loading up SoulCalibur 4 again. I would have liked a larger roster, especially as the future of the series is a bit uncertain, but what we have is good and I'm keen to see where they go with DLC, as 2B as yet another guest fighter was a pretty strong choice. Because of that, I'd say SoulCalibur VI is probably worth a buy. It's solid and there's quite a bit of content to explore and it's easy to get lost in creating the perfect fighter. I hope you enjoyed that video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and you can also find me over at Arisen Culture where I have a bunch of other content besides reviews. Until next time, bye!
Victory challenged a Witcher. Must have had a death wish.